All right, ladies and gentlemen, here in studio with us from Comedy Central, Roy Wood Jr.
How you doing, brother?
From Birmingham, Alabama.
Yes, sir. Southern brother, man.
How's things? You've been pushing your hometown and getting people to come back to your hometown and support and do some tourism and whatnot.
Well, I wrote a thing for the New York Times where we got to talking about the Equal Justice Initiative that's going on down in Montgomery. And, you know, in short, people try to call it the Lynching Memorial, but there's so much more going on with that. And I think what people have to acknowledge, because my problem with the perception of the South is that you think that there aren't people there that are trying to be part of the solution. The assumption is just that the South is dead weight when it comes to race issues. And that's not true, man. There's so many people down there. The fact, like, when you think about this museum, when you think about, like, look at all the other African-American museums and institutes that we have. You have something in Memphis. You have one in Atlanta. You have African-American Smithsonian in D.C. Jackson, Mississippi's getting ready to build something dope, if it's not already under construction.
Okay.
And then in Alabama, Birmingham has their thing, but then in Montgomery, they have a memorial where it's literally just about lynching. Hey, let's just talk about literally one of the most heinous aspects of that era, and let's just do a whole, you know what? Let's do a lynching memorial, and then you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna list the name of every single person we can find, and then you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take the dirt from every single location of and we're gonna put the dirt in a jar, and you can look at the dirt where people's blood, like the fact that got greenlit.
Yeah.
That's progress, man, because you have to acknowledge where you've come from to get to anywhere else better. And to be a son of the state of Alabama and to see that standing and to see people there visiting and really taking it in, it's an emotional journey. For that to exist, that's dope and that's progress and it's worth being recognized.
The other thing that's great about the museum is that, you know, the plan is that in each of the locations where a lynching occurred, they are prepared to give that community a memorial, a physical memorial to place in that space. So in other words, each one we see in Montgomery is also supposed to be replicated in the locales where the lynching took place.
My God.
That's the long-term.
See what I'm saying?
That's the long-term play. So no, that's no joke.
Yeah,
and
so I went down there and I felt that, and, you know, thankfully the New York Times let me sit and kind of write up a little bit about that because, you know, there are a lot of good progressive things happening in the state of Alabama.
Yeah,
and I just feel like I'd be remiss to be a son of the state to not mention that.
You know what makes me proudest when I fly into Birmingham? And the first time it happened to me, it was years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, but the first time, because I go to Selma, I'm on the board in Selma, so I help organize the Jubilee every year.
65 South to US 80.
That's right. We do Bloody Sunday every year. But sometimes I fly into Montgomery, sometimes I fly into Birmingham. About 10 years ago, I flew into Birmingham. And I knew this had happened, but I'd forgotten. So I was napping on the plane and awakened to this and was reminded of it. Said, we are now approaching Fred Shuttlesworth Airport. And I mean, a tear streamed down my face to hear that man's name. Every time somebody has to go into Birmingham, to hear that brother's name, it's incredible.
They got a full, I don't know if you've been since the renovation's been done in the last year where they renovated one of the terminals, but they got a full tribute to this brother on the walls, the whole history of the city down in baggage claim, upstairs in the concourses. Like, it's definitely, for people arriving and leaving, you know what has happened. And like, it's a beautiful thing. Shout out to the late former mayor Larry Langford, who was the one who started that initiative that got the airport changed into Fred Shuttlesworth.
No, it's a beautiful thing. So Friday, January 25th.
Yeah, man. No One Loves You.
No One
Comedy
Loves
Central,
You.
11 o'clock. Running my mouth. And you know what? All I tried to do with this special was create comedy and create jokes and create a train of thought around the ideal that as much as you want to believe that there are good people in the world, and there is still a lot of people who do not care about your existence. And trying to figure out why. And I think acknowledging that truth. You know, we talked a little bit. I went back and forth with one of my buddies on whether or not to even put this joke on the show. But we got to talking about, you know, police reform. And the first thing I've always said is pay police more. And people be like, well, you can't give police money. Like, why not? You're giving money to every family. When you do something wrong, you have to pay a settlement. So instead of paying families, create a snitch fund to just pay cops to snitch on each other. That's all Crime Stoppers is. Crime Stoppers is a snitch fund. Do you have a tip that could lead to an arrest? Call Crime Stoppers. Your tip may lead to a conviction and $10,000. Put the same thing up in the locker room at the police station.
On the police.
100,000 per snitch. If the police, if they were paying police to snitch on other police, 100,000 a snitch, I'd become a cop, Mark.
Listen,
I quit comedy.
But you know what else would end it though? I thought about this, and that's funny. But listen, if they would make police officers liable for the shootings and the brutality that come out of their paycheck, that would end overnight too.
Start suing you.
Yeah, I mean not just the police department, the settlements, stop indemnifying the police.
Yeah,
that would end. They wouldn't sue nobody. Say what you doing? Even the real criminals, they leave them alone. So y'all gonna rob that bank. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah,
right in front of.
Yeah, we're just trying to get to the root of that, man, and just talking about that. You know, you look at everything that's been happening around R. Kelly. Well, how can people listen to the music? Because some people, the music takes them back to a happy place or makes them remember a person. Somebody will put their happiness before your humanity. And that's just what it is. It's people out there that would just rather shake their behind than really process for a second what the music represents, the person behind the music and what it's attached to. And that's, you know, and that's the thing that I think is worth pointing out. You'll go, oh, I'm going to keep listening to R. Kelly, but then you'll say, I'm not going to stay at no Trump Plaza hotel. What's the difference?
What's the difference? Right.
Well, I don't like what that man represents, so I ain't gonna stay at his hotel.
Right. But you okay?
Step in the name of love, though. Oh my God, that's my jam.
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
So you know, it's just about pointing out that type of stuff and making those observations, man. I'm thankful to Comedy Central for giving me a platform to be able to kind of spit something that I hope resonates with people.
Yeah, I'm sure it will, bro. Well, everything you do resonate.
I don't get to dictate that, man. I just get to spit the jokes, and wherever they land is where they land.
You went to FAMU.
Yes, sir, I did.
Majored in broadcast journalism.
Frederick Humphrey's administration, 2001. It's supposed to be 2000, but let's not talk about that 1 year Kappa-Luau.
Well, you know, when
stuff went wrong.
When I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee State, Fred was president of Tennessee State when I was in high school, so I brought him. Matter of fact, it was a Martin Luther King Day program. I invited him to speak in my high school in Nashville. But so, how did you broadcast journalism? How did you get into comedy? When did that come about?
I started doing comedy my junior year at FAMU. And so just rewind. So my father did journalism. My father worked at WVON in Chicago way back in the day. And so he did. It was a lot of black commentary, a lot of wokey woke, if you will. Of course. And my mother was she was in the first black class that desegregated Delta State University. So the background in the house was definitely about fighting for what was right. And I just kind of threw that out the window. I'm like, man, I ain't with all that civil rights. I'm trying to play baseball.
Really?
Yeah. I get to FAMU. I get cut from the baseball team.
Oh, Lord. Oh, no.
And so comedy had always been something that I had an interest in. It's just one of those things that I had an itch for. And so when I was 19, I got arrested because we were stealing clothes at Macy's. So I got it in my mind that, you know, I can just sell clothes, and got caught, thought I was going to prison, got depressed, started doing comedy to deal with the thought that I was going to prison, ended up getting probation. Okay. Got back in school, graduated, been doing stand-up comedy ever since.
So comedy was a treatment for your depression?
It was an escape, 100%.
And you kept it going?
Kept it going.
So if you had not stolen those clothes,
absolutely,
you might not be a comic today.
Shout out to the security guard
for busting you and finding you.
Tallahassee Mall. What's up? Good morning.
That's quite a story, man.
And so, and I say all of that about my parents to say that as I started doing my comedy, you're 19, you don't really have a worldly view yet. But as I started getting into my late 20s, and then for sure in my early 30s, I turned a corner where I started looking at the world differently and what's going on and what's happening. And that's when I started kind of echoing my parents' sentiments, but just figuring out ways to put a little bit of funny into it. And so it's been a blessing to be able to take a thought, because all I've tried to do with my stand-up is confirm for black people that they're not alone in thinking the way they're thinking and what they see. And to show white people that there's something more going on underneath than what you think. There's something deeper that's going on in this world. You know, on my last special, I talked about just the concept of leaving the store with a bag and a receipt. I can't go green. I can't afford to go green.
That's right. We can't do that.
You talking to me about recycling? I don't even hear what you talking about.
Right.
I need that bag.
Need the bag and the receipt.
But it's a plastic and the turtles. I'm kind of about them turtles.
Yeah.
If I walk out the store without a bag and a receipt, it might be an issue.
It might be an issue.
So
it's real.
That ain't nothing new to black folks. Black folks know that.
That's our life.
But then I have white people come up and email me after the special. I had never considered that. And, wow.
Right.
Really? The bag?
Right.
This is a bag? Yes.
That's real talk.
A bag.
That's real talk.
I go in the store with a bag in case they ain't got a bag, so I have a bag.
And then you run the risk. Then you run the risk, man, of them thinking, you put something else in the bag. I mean,
man, I ain't got to tell you. You already know.
Listen, no, for real. I was in the store a few weeks ago to buy some new stuff, but I had gotten a bottle of seltzer that was the wrong flavor.
You had to return.
So I brought you with the receipt.
I'd be scared to return.
And then the man was like, "Where you get?" I mean, it was drama. I was like, as much money as I spend in this raggedy son of a gun. And I got loud. This is when it's okay, we'll take care of it. So it was $1. I was paying for everything else. So I couldn't be stealing. I was paying
the counter.
I was paying for everything else I bought that was new, trying to return something that was worth $1.
And you think I'm
and it was about to be a police issue.
Come on, man. So any comedy that can clarify that.
Do you want a bag? Yeah, of course I want a bag.
Yeah, but what about recycling?
And see, that's a black tax too, because they know we got to take the bag, Roy. So they charge us for the bag. We paying for our bag that we need to keep us from going to jail.
10 cents for you to not get shot.
That's right. By the police. Oh, Lord, you done said something now. You done said something now. 10 cents for you not to get shot.
So, that's what I'm trying to do, man. I'm trying to take these jokes and we got to talking about the whole anthem and everything.
Right.
And how people will say, all right, give it up for the troops, and they always say, well, the anthem's for the troops, and stand, don't take a knee, stand for the troop. Right. Okay, fine. And then they bring a troop. You ever know every sporting event they bring a troop out there, right. And hey, everybody, love clap for him. He's a veteran.
Right.
But what they never do is give him the microphone. Because you don't want him spitting that real.
No.
You don't want him spitting that real about the way he being treated.
That's right.
Because they always. Yeah, that's you ever notice when they bring a troop out to the field, it's one that just got back, the PTSD ain't set in good yet, or it's an old one who can't talk. But they don't let nobody else. Ain't no other troop gonna be like, no, they don't allow that. So you talk about the troops, but you say stand for the troops, but at the same hand, the people who say stand for the troops will vote against the interests of things that will help and policies and you won't hold politicians accountable to enforce the policies that would really help the troops more than you standing and clapping for them at a damn football game.
Wait a minute, Dr. Here to Kill.
Nobody loves you.
Nobody. But listen, see how they did the Native American veteran over this weekend? Mm-hmm. The MAGA kids attacked him at the Indigenous Peoples March on Friday, and Trump is defending him, and he's a Vietnam veteran.
But Trump say support the vets.
That's what I'm saying. But it's, unless you're a person of color at the Indigenous Peoples March being attacked by some MAGA hat kids.
There you go.
And maybe it has something to do with Vietnam. Maybe he don't like Vietnam vets because, he lied not to, he claimed he had
draft dodge.
All they draft dodging.
Yeah, my neck and my back. I had I had to have a backiotomy.
So this is going to be, the fact that you're even able to take on some of these subjects in and of itself is, revolutionary. Everybody don't like us to talk the way you talking. Do they?
No.
Some of us, they still want us just to buck and smile.
I got an email. we did a story for the Daily Show where they sent me to a pro-gun rally where nobody could bring their gun. And so pro-guns, but no guns allowed. Bring their gun. And so I go and, do the talk, ask the questions, make the jokes and whatever. 3 weeks later, once the segment aired, that whole week, I'm getting called all types of N-words in the Facebook and on the inbox. What's really interesting, though, is when people private message you to call you a slur instead of posting it in public.
They just put it out there, right.
Yeah.
They don't have the courage to say how they really feel for everybody else to see.
And so, that didn't even trip me out. The one that tripped me out was this white dude mailed me a Bible and said, I forgive you for what you did to me. And had put little tabs on pages of the Bible with highlighted verses I need to read to correct myself and atone with God.
What did he think you did, though?
I don't know. Well, I ain't finna write him back.
No.
I find out.
Crazy.
You got to leave that alone, man. So, you go out there and do stuff and you have opinions and points of view. It's always going to be some people that don't rock with it.
And you dealing with real stuff, man.
It's all in the game, though.
You dealing with real stuff. You remind me of Dick
Gregory.
Yeah. Because Dick was always humor, but it was still within the context of what we dealing with today, the political satire. That's what's up. That's what we need.
Man, I'm trying to get there, man. I ain't on that Dick Gregory level. Dick Gregory, man.
What takes time?
I saw him in Nashville 2-3 years ago, and I mean he'll spit 20 minutes of real.
Yeah.
And you could hear him pin drop in the room.
As they say here, rat pee on cotton.
And then it erupts into a 5-minute applause break when he takes him around and yo-yo. He says something that always stuck with me, though. He said people ask him why he's always out at the marches. And he said, because the struggle's out there. It ain't at my house. I know I'm butchering the quote a little bit, but that always stuck with me about getting out there and trying to say what's real and, putting the message out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Roywood Jr. folks premiering on Comedy Central January 25th. What have, in terms of your career, brother, also The Daily Show, Comedy Central, all that, what have you not done yet that you're still looking to do? What are some of the accomplishments on your list?
The short list right now, if we're talking long run, I want to build a movie and TV studio in Birmingham, Alabama. That's the long run, and it can be done. And I've looked at the tax codes, and I've talked to a lot of the politicians on the ground, and please believe that one's coming over my dead body.
Do it
over my dead body.
Do what Tyler did in Atlanta.
Boom, 100%. And you create opportunities, and you build jobs. Let me stop before a red dot appear on my chest. And
yeah, let's not
bullet come through it.
Man, that's amazing, man.
I mean, I'm just gonna do nothing for the black community. I have to say that every now and then so I can stay alive.
right.
So they don't think I'm a threat. Man, I just there's good people on both sides.
That's right.
You have to say that once a week to throw off the FBI.
Good people on both sides.
That's long term. Short term, I have a sitcom that I'm working on with the network. It's called Reestablished, and it's about 2 probation officers handling their caseload down south. And the premise of the sitcom is to just show a little bit about what happens with recidivism and how the system pushes back against people, but also shows the pros and cons of when people choose to make the right choices or the wrong choices.
Okay.
And so, having come through that system myself for 2-3 years, it's always something that I've always been fascinated with is how some people on probation can excel and go on to be a greater I would have never been sitting with you if I never get in the backseat of that police car. But then there's other people where that first arrest is a long line of devolvement into the prison system.
Right. And can never right the ship.
Probation officers, probation is the only form of law enforcement where the objective is to keep you out of jail. And that's such a backwards thing when that should be all branches of law enforcement.
Yeah, I agree.
Probation officers violate you and stuff like that. But for the most part, their job is to get you into programs, mock interviews. They have I interviewed a ton of people with New York probation and shadowed them around a little bit. They have there's people that get out of jail that don't even have a jacket to put on to go to a job interview.
Jesus. Terrible.
So but if you don't get the job as part of your probation, you're violating, you go back to jail.
Yeah.
You can't even dress for the damn thing. You can't even get a haircut. So there's programs in place at so many probation officers that make these things possible for people. It's almost part social work. And it's a very fascinating branch of law enforcement to me when everything else out there, every other show you can name, it's catch the criminal in court, or it's jail. And the show takes place once you've already been convicted. And that's not a knock on any of those shows, but there's just more. There's more out there to be analyzed. So that's what I want to do.
Reestablishment. And that's a comedy?
Yeah.
That's
on Comedy Central. Look, I don't know how the hell I'm going to make all this stuff funny.
But you make it
But I'm going to make it funny, man. I'm working with Trevor Noah and Aaron Magruder is one of my EPs.
Oh, yeah? Oh,
and
good.
If anybody know how to handle that, man, it's Aaron Magruder.
It's Aaron.
I think I got a good brain trust.
So the question I always ask black actors and entertainers, if you could play An historical figure.
Oh.
On screen. Who would you be? Who could you see yourself as?
Oh, dang. See, why didn't you ask me who I want to have dinner with? I already got them answers. All right.
No, I want to know who you
Charles
would
S. Dutton, Samuel L. Jackson, Felicia Rashad. Like, I know my black people at my dinner,
Right.
but you asking me a question about what historical figure
could you become? Could you play on screen?
Could I play?
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked I ain't been cast for Martin Luther King. I'm probably too chubby. People keep saying I look like Dr. King in the face.
You do come think of it. Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Don't say
you can do that.
No. I can play chubby, bizarro Dr. King in a comedy. I would have to say my love of baseball probably steers me towards Jackie Robinson.
Okay.
But then I also have I like just from a political side of the game. I would go Ralph Bunche.
Really? That is so famous.
Yeah.
I was just doing some reading on Ralph Bunche last night.
Yeah, because this was a black person
Wow.
in an international, not just in a white space,
Yes,
an
sir.
international
I was
space.
just reading that last night, Doctor.
And what was that like? Who were those people? What were those people? What was it like to not only be hated by white people in America, but to just be straight disregarded by people in other countries and still believe that you can make a difference in the world?
And he did.
Like that.
First black man win Nobel Prize.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
Like
But
that's
you build a movie studio, so you can do that.
yeah.
And I encourage y'all, when y'all had those resources, we got to tell our story, man. Nobody else is gonna tell it.
I can't play Ralph Bunche though. My hair don't lay down the right way.
That's all right.
Ralph Bunche had that lay down. It wasn't a perm, but the hair just laid nicer than mine. Y'all wouldn't believe it. It's okay. I cast Michael B. Jordan, put him in a hairpiece.
There's a way to do everything. You got everything's CGI now.
CGI.
You can do CGI. No, that's
we'll
great, man.
see,
What is
man.
this on your shirt? What is
Oh
that?
man, this is
Black
this is a
women.
young lady. This is the cast of Living Single.
It's sure. I thought that's who that was. I could
Yeah.
okay.
That's Living Single, a young lady by the name of Cashmere Creative, black clothing designer out of
That's
Mississippi.
nice. That's all right.
Yeah, I always love the sister's work. So when I get a chance, I always
Yeah.
throw it on.
Yeah. I see you. This is a military jacket too. You got on too.
Yeah, one of them little, but I ain't never served because
You had bone spurs too.
No, I ain't had bone spurs. I had a felony. That'll keep you too.
That's what it was.
Even though these
Back
days
to
they
the
probably take me.
I know. And
Yo, man, I would serve after 9/11, but I stole them jeans from Macy's, bro. My bad.
So give us details one more time. Friday.
No one loves you.
No One
Comedy
Loves You.
Central, and that's Friday at 11 o'clock, man. So
11
please
p.m.
do watch. Yeah, please do.
Folks, we're gonna love it. So be sure to check it out. Congratulations on it, man, and being out there. What's your website for people to keep up with?
Just Roy Wood Jr. That's my @sign, and that's my .com.
That's
for
all
all
together.
social
Uniform.
website. Yes, sir.
Uniform. Man, build that studio. I remember this. I'm a boom. We can see
This is
each
the
other next
first place
time.
I ever said it publicly.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't tell people my ideas. Not when they too grand.
Because our people need industry now in these places.
People start telling you that you can't do stuff and all
Yeah,
that.
right, and you don't wanna, right.
And like people talk about black inclusion and hiring black and black entertainment, but what we need are more places for black people to learn that stuff. And more importantly, especially in Alabama, what's needed is a place for kids to realize that their dreams can be bigger than the horizon.
Amen.
Ricky Smiley's the only reason I even thought that I could do comedy on a bigger level, because he was the only person I ever seen from where I live
Right.
that was on TV.
Right.
So when I saw Ricky, that's what made the dream possible for me.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, it's just just go to college, get your degree, and keep it moving.
Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
But I saw Ricky, and that was like, oh, I can do that. So if these kids have a place where they can come and see the magic from the ground up, then and especially,
Good.
man, if I shoot this sitcom in Birmingham, and you sitting on the couch in Birmingham, and you see the crib on TV,
Yeah. Right. You
That's
see
Ricky-
yourself. Give yourself.
that's Ricky Smiley times 10, man.
Yeah. Right. It is.
And that's the
Good
goal.
luck, brother. January 25th, 11 p.m. Comedy Central. No One Loves You. Roy Wood Jr. Looking forward to talking to you more, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Any way I can be supportive.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Roy Wood Jr. Folks. This is MIP.